What's up, guys? It's the Farooqi brothers back with another video. And today for you guys, we're going to be going and do a quick deep dive into Ray Fisher's newest interview on The Hollywood Reporter. To give you guys a quick synopsis before we jump into it, Ray Fisher's been working with a reporter, Kim Masters, someone who has 2 decades of experience in journalism, someone who's done multiple big stories. For example, there's a story on one Kevin Tsujihara, before his allegations came and he got ousted from Warner Brothers as CEO. So this is someone, a journalist that we can probably trust. And Ray Fisher did a huge story with her with a bunch of moving parts. So naturally, we're going to be here to break that down for you guys and make it a little more easier to digest. And then we'll give our thoughts and analysis of it as well, and do that in a pretty quick format. So let's just jump right into it. To make it easier, I'm going to get the article going on the side right here. So the headline is what it is. You know, Ray Fisher opens up about Justice League, Joss Whedon, and Warner's. And the key quote, the full quote here is that I don't believe some of these people are fit for leadership. So before we jump into the meat and potatoes, as they say, Umar, what was your overall reaction when you read the story?
The overall reaction was like what we've already seen and known, which is that it's been a long road where Ray Fisher keeps coming forward with testimony and you know, with a lot of proof and evidence of what he's saying. And then also the reporter also did a great job of going to find things on putting things into context and perspective. I mean, it's appalling for one to see that these things are still happening. It's something that never really sits right when it comes to racism and these types of things and workplace misconduct. Like, it just never will ever sit right with anyone. So to see the depth of it and the level of it, and how many people have come forward, and just the way things were being said, and with Geoff Johns, and Toby Emmerich saying stupid things like, or being in the room when someone was saying that, you know, an angry black man should not be, you know, a leader of the films. Like, this just stupidity. Like, there's not much else. It's anger on my part. Just that's who I am as a person. I don't take these types of things lightly. So it's stupid. If you want my raw reaction, it's dumb.
Yeah, and
people should be let go. People should be let go. Management changes should be made. It should not be happening at this level. I think AT&T should get involved and actually fire some of these folks and oust them publicly. Yeah,
and it's interesting when you say AT&T because, you know, people that I've talked to have pretty much given indication that, listen, AT&T, these are all part of the company. They're part of the same thing. They're going to hold the studio line, and there are no friends in bad business, you know. And in this case, Warner Brothers, Warner Media, AT&T, we can keep looking up and up the food chain and be like, hey, can you help? Can you help? Can you help? But time and again, we're going to come down to the same kind of realization. And that realization is that there are no friends in this business, and there's no one who's going to really put their own neck on the line to help someone else. And if they do put their neck on the line, most likely they're going to get fired, right? So people's jobs are on the line, people's security is on the line, and that's been kind of the common theme when it comes to the Ray Fisher story, and something that hits home for the four of us because we know what happened with Forbes and things like that. So it's like we know the drill, you know, like we've experienced it firsthand. So seeing the Kim Masters story very much, you know, adds into that. So Zion, you know, I mean, we've talked about people like Joss Whedon ad nauseum, and we know the things he's done. There's a lot more to get into, but you're seeing more about Joss, more allegations, more confirmation. Particularly, there was a point where he talks about Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot, and the allegations here are very much that, listen, I'm gonna threaten your career, and he allegedly threatened Gal's career, and also disparaged Patty Jenkins in front of her multiple times to show that, listen, it's like a power move. Like, I'm bigger than you, I'm better than you, and we all know that things happen. But you know, the four of us, we found out about this pretty early in early 2018, and we also know what Patty ended up doing. She was actually pretty instrumental in why Joss Whedon was removed from background. That's not something that's in this article, but from our understanding, that's kind of what happens. So, Zion, when you're hearing this kind of stuff and hearing a lot of confirmation of things we've already heard about, I mean, so how did this article play out to you?
You know, first and foremost, I'm glad it came out in this fashion. Obviously, it's a very huge piece, and it's coming out publicly with all these allegations, all this information from the time of the investigation, from the time of the reshoots. I'm glad it's finally come to the public, so now they can analyze it, they can see it for what it is. And like you said, a lot of the stuff we've heard about and we've known for a few years now. So just seeing it come out now publicly, hopefully, like in the court of public opinion, let's see if it sways and actual change being made, because we know as far as the investigation was concerned, they did take some remedial action, which we still don't know what it was actually. But now that it's come out publicly, it's all a game of PR. Like you said, these people at the top line, they're not looking to do what's right. They're not looking to do like, oh, somebody got treated badly, let's give him his reparations, like let's help him out. That's not what it's about for them. It's about their bottom line. It's about making sure the company looks good. So now that's out in public, let's see if public opinion and the call for change is strong enough where AT&T or WB is like, all right, now we actually will have, somebody has to go forward. There has to be some change that needs to be made because of now everything's been public, and they don't want to look worse than they already are, because from some of the things in this article, it is pretty bad and it is pretty horrible, some of the stuff that these alleged people did and have pretty much gotten away with, as far as we know, since once again we don't know what the remedial action actually was. So let's see, maybe now that it's public, now that a huge audience, everybody basically is getting to see this for what it is, will AT&T, will somebody at the top step in, be like, all right, we acknowledge these mistakes, this is what happened, and we're going to make the changes there and now?
No, that's not going to happen. I'm going to be as realistic as I possibly can. They're not doing anything about this. They would have, if they would have, put a statement in the article that we apologize, we don't want to do anything, we want to move forward with this, but also acknowledge nothing's going to happen from this. That's the sad part about it. Outside of some accountability, outside of some things being added in. So the next thing I want to focus in on is actually this quote, and I know we've talked about this a few times, and this one of the things we've also acknowledged a while back. So there's this conversation that was happening in the room with Jon Berg, Toby Emmerich, Geoff Johns, where they said they could not have an angry black man at the center of a Justice League movie. And then for the first time, Geoff Johns hired a representative to actually speak on his behalf, something that's not happened beforehand. So Geoff Johns is basically, his representative said, listen, the studio mandated a brighter tone, and we wanted to add joy and hopefulness to all 6 superheroes. And there are always conversations about avoiding any stereotype of race or gender, etc. Right? So, I mean, this is pretty weak, and we're going to get to more of why it's weak. But Umar, you have a hot take on this one? Like, I thought this was a fairly weak retort, to be honest.
I think it's idiotic and desperate. And it shows where the rep is coming from. And not to, the funny thing is, it's not like you can hire a representative and it's like 1940 or something. This is like 2021. We know you hired a rep. You could literally search the guy up. The guy that he's hired is
a crisis manager.
Deals with crisis management. He's a weirdo and a half, but that's a story for another day. But the idea that people are gonna hear this BS and actually take it, it doesn't work in 2021. You should have hired someone maybe younger. You should have hired someone that actually knows what the game is now, rather than going to some weirdo from 200 years ago. That it's not gonna work. Like people don't buy this stuff anymore. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's the overall feel. That's the overall feel that people are smarter now than what it seems. And we're going to get to another point. And we're on Geoff Johns, we can talk about another point he made, and we're keeping it to the article really. But this talk about like how Johns wanted Ray to play Cyborg like Quasimodo, right, from Hunchback of Notre Dame, and rather the original vision was to play more like Frankenstein. And Fisher said that I'm actually didn't have the article here. He said I didn't have any intention of playing him as a jovial cathedral cleaning individual, right? And that shows, number one, like how much Ray feels emboldened with the character. Like he wanted the Cyborg character to have a certain amount of agency, and that word agency is gonna come up a few times. But for covering all our bases, the representative did add to this that, listen, Geoff gave a note using a fictional character as an example of a sympathetic man, So this is another kind of deflection that this is not his. It was not his intention to be insensitive or whatever. We hear that it happens like about 4 or 5 times in this article. It's like at some point, how many times can we keep hearing that? And that's when we get to something very big, which is going to be. And I'm going to scroll up so I find it even. And there's the booyah comment, which I think we got into already a couple of times. This is pretty much well known, but Ray Fisher made it known that, listen, I don't want how come the only character in this movie that's talking in a catchphrase is the black character? And that harkens back to old shows. And he says, listen, like Gary Coleman says, what you talking about, Willis, or Jimmy Walker's Dynamite. These characters have catchphrases, and there's a racial undertone to it. Let's call it what it is. And as you guys see here, Fisher says Whedon raised the issue again that Jeff tells me that Cyborg has a catchphrase. And then Berg is like, this is what I found absolutely crazy. If you think about this is how movies are made. But and Samir, I don't know if you can give me your thoughts on this one, but he said this is what allegedly Berg told Ray at dinner. What if the CEO of AT&T has a son or daughter, and that son or daughter wants to say booyah in a movie, and we don't get a take of that? I could lose my job. Right? And is this how movies like I always thought it was like, let's say for a second that he's being honest, that Jon Berg felt he would get fired if booyah was not in this movie because the son or daughter of the AT&T CEO might want that line in. So I don't know, Samir, what do you make of this? Like, are you buying it? Are you feeling that, hey, maybe that's how it is? People in power are going to choose what lines to be in. So what did you make of that little quote?
I've never heard a wilder excuse to dumb down a character. I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. Like, it holds no merit at all. Really.
Yeah, and then here we get to something that I find particularly egregious, right? So it says Ray Fisher arrived on set, and Whedon stretched out his arms and said a line from Hamlet in a mocking tone: "Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you." And then Fisher replied, "Joss, don't. I'm not in a mood." And when he was done saying that one phrase, Whedon said, "Nice work, Ray." Right? And let's talk. I mean, Zion, you can hit this up. I mean, this line, right? "Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you." Now let's put it into context of Justice League, right? "Speak the speech," which is say booyah, I pray you, which is like I'm asking you to do it as I pronounced it to you. Like, do it the way I said and the way I said it, and that's it. It felt to me vaguely threatening. It felt a little bit like, again, intimidating, and it adds to like a laundry list of things now that we've kind of seen from Whedon in terms of the kind of behavior. I mean, and this is not a personal opinion. This is coming straight from the article from Kim Masters, right? So, Zion, seeing that line and seeing that apparently allegedly was said in a mocking tone, what do you make of that?
It's definitely degrading. It's intimidation, and it's just pathetic to see. It's like this is how you're treating your actors, and it's like you're really putting him down in this one line. It's like it is mockery, basically. You're basically mocking him. Like Rick said, he said in a mocking tone. Well, it is mockery the way you said it. Like, just making a joke of, all right, I'm forcing you to say this, so you better say it. That's basically what he's saying. And the nice work, Ray, that's just like adding on to the insults, adding on to the taunting and the mocking. And you can see clearly that this is how the environment was. It was a very toxic environment for those actors because, like, this is how you're being treated. This is how there's no collaboration. There's no, Ray, you're playing the character. What do you think I should do in the scene? How should we work it in? None of that. Just one guy saying, you better do this because I'm telling you to do it. And he's saying it in a mocking way to either, I don't know, bring some levity to it or saying it in a joking way. But we all know how it comes off, and we all know what he's trying to say through it. And it's just creates a toxic environment for everybody. And that's plain and clear to see.
It has a racial undertone too. Like a white man demanding a black man to do something and just do it because I'm telling you to do it.
And
it's bad.
And then he's quoting theater. He's quoting Shakespeare, which is what's Ray's background, theater. So it's kind of like you're putting it in his face. Let's call it what it is. And that leads to other set members. Sources said Whedon clashed with all stars of the film, including Jeremy Irons. I find it interesting that they mentioned Jeremy Irons in particular. Like, I wonder what lines. I mean, I haven't seen the theatrical cut in so long that what kind of conversation or what lines did Alfred say in the theatrical cut that would make him even be angry? Like, this guy's a very kind of like professional, old school kind of guy, and he's like he's kind of done with the BS too. So I don't know. I'm just wondering aloud, like what was the turning point for him? And then we know about this thing. This is what we've known for a couple of years. We talked about in the beginning at the top of the show, where he said a knowledgeable source says Godot had multiple concerns with the revised vision of the film, including issues about a character being more aggressive than a character in Wonder Woman, which I found interesting as well to say. And we know that what happened with and Godot said in a statement that I had my issues with Whedon and Warner Bros. Handle in a timely manner. So let's keep moving forward now. Let's move out of this. We know we've talked about this again, but this is something that I find very interesting to talk about, and it's about the show Krypton that came on Sci-Fi a couple of years back. And Krypton obviously originally was pitched as a Man of Steel prequel. David Goyer was involved. It's sort of a very different tone, but it's supposed to follow the Man of Steel model. Eventually, things happened. They changed it up. They're like, let's break it up and do our own thing, which is fine. What's interesting is that in the casting rooms, while they were casting for Seg-El, who is Superman's grandfather, they were going through a host of different actors. And at one point, there was a black actor who, and I apologize if I'm butchering his name, but Reggae Jean Page, right? He ended up becoming a breakout star, Bridgerton, as I said, but he auditioned for the role. But allegedly, Geoff Johns, who was overseeing the project, said Superman could not have a black grandfather, right? So I find that very interesting. Number one, because did he forget the mythos of Krypton that, like, there's no biological children, and even if there was biological, okay, you can still do whatever you want, so it's like it's doing the most, right, in many ways. But and when you look at what this is amazing. And I think this is like this is the crazy part. But so again, you have the same Geoff Johns rep, right? And he's like, Geoff celebrates and supports all LGBT characters, which is about Adam Strange, a different scenario altogether. He said, as for Superman's grandfather, Johns believed the fans expected the character to look like a young Henry Cavill. And what do you think about it? Like, this is a guy who doesn't want to be part of the DCEU, but now he wants suddenly, it has to look like young Henry Cavill. Like, since when? Like, I don't know. And Ray, just a few minutes before we recorded this, tweeted up that this is such a weak excuse but you wanted Henry Cavill lookalike for Superman's grandfather, but you're okay with the black Zod. Zod can be black, even though Michael Shannon is not black, right? So you can have a black Zod in that show, but you can't have cannot have Superman's grandfather. I don't know. We're like another bad faith excuse, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean it's about race. I mean, there's no other way to really look at it. And then his rep saying that he supports LGBTQ characters. I mean, what does that have to do with like what he's being accused of? Like, it has nothing. Yeah. It's like a vague thing you put out there, like, there's one community that is feeling this, but look at him, he supports another community here. It's like, dude, we're talking about two different lived experiences. Like, we're not even talking about the same thing. So
yeah, and
again, the rep
probably doesn't know. And you go further, and the thing that the rep said that the spokesperson for spokesperson for Johns wanted to make sure that he's categorized as a Lebanese American. Which is like, since when? Like, he's been in business for 20 years. And I get it, he does have a Lebanese heritage, but how rarely does he bring that up? Like, is that something he's always celebrated? Like, I get it. If for 20 years he's always been front with his flag and said, I'm a Lebanese American comic book writer, this is my heritage. No, he's only bringing his heritage up now that he's in the hot water for race, right? It's like, I don't know, like, that again doesn't.
And that's a pattern. That's a pattern with these articles, is that a lot of the responses of these guys has been, you know what? Well, I'm a person of color, or the person that's being accused, like Walter Hamada, was being accused of them, tampering with the investigation. And one of the responses that came was that, he's a person of color, so therefore, he knows what it's like or whatever. Stupid. Everyone has different lived experiences. This is like basic 101 human understanding of the world.
Yeah. So now let's get.
It's the same card they tried to play with. In the Ansarnoff article, that because one person is a person of color, Hamada, then he cannot do any wrong to anybody else who's a person of color. It's like, that there's no correlation between you being a person of color and not doing something racist or acting in certain way against somebody else that's also a person of color. It's like, what are you saying? Because like, it's just a very cheap excuse, and it's very pathetic. And like you said, it's almost never been brought up, and only now, to try to save himself, they bring up, I'm also a person of color, but it's irrelevant to the situation.
And as we wind down the article, I did want to mention this interesting tidbit, but it's this thing. It's crazy when I'm looking back at it, but where am I? Let me look. Okay. Snyder denies any role of influencing Fisher because, for their part, Warner sources contend that Fisher was being manipulated by Zack Snyder, who hoped to reclaim control of the DCEU. This is, I don't know. This is the quote that makes me just laugh. I'm not even joking. Like, how? Who wrote it? Why would they say this? Like, which source is saying this? But is that the genuine belief? Like, is the genuine belief that Ray Fisher is not smart enough to do this himself? That's the undertone. This is racist. This is straight up racism by saying that Ray Fisher, he's not smart enough to do this by himself. Someone is pulling the strings. It's Zack. He wants to make more Justice League movies. Yeah, it has to be a white man who wants more Justice League movies. Like what? So and then Fisher's quote, which I think one of his strongest quotes in this piece. Let's call it what it is, and I'll read it in full. Fisher says the assertion that a black man would not have his own agency is just as racist as the conversations Warner leadership was having about Justice League reshoots. I've been underestimated at every turn during this process, and that is what led us to this point. Had they taken me seriously as they should have from the beginning, they would not have made as many foolish mistakes as they did in the process. And then Snyder denies any role of influencing Fisher. So I don't know. I mean, this was absolutely crazy quote. Like I don't know how you can get away with a quote like this and still keep it going. But overall, I think that there is a lot to take from the story, and there are many angles to cover. But from Booyah to Ray Fisher to Joss Whedon to Geoff Johns and Toby Emmerich, I mean, this thing covers everything. And there's even a funny little thing where it's like, listen, Warner says that the untitled Snowman comedy remains in development. So, Samir, are you still trying to see this Frosty the Snowman movie? Which, let me just scroll up. Jason Momoa said, I think it's, let me just let Umar back in. Jason Momoa said, I think it's effed up that people released a fake Frosty announcement without my permission to distract from Ray Fisher speaking up about the shitty way he was treated on Justice League reshoots. Serious stuff went down. It needs to be investigated, and people need to be held accountable. To that quote, this is Warner Brothers' response. The untitled Snowman comedy remains in development. So, Samir, I mean, what do you make of the Snowman comedy? Untitled. So it's not Frosty the Snowman anymore. Just say Frosty the Snowman.
This is the definition of doing the most. They're trying everything to get out of this. It makes no sense.
Yeah, listen, I just love that the movie was first announced, Frosty the Snowman movie, which is a recognizable character. Now it's untitled Snowman comedy. What other snowman are they going to make it off of? I don't know. This is like, come on, man. You guys are a studio with hundreds of years of experience. Like, how are you messing up like this? So, but either way, we head down to the end portion now, which is there's a lot going on here with the investigation. Remember, there was a point in the investigation. I'll just skim this part myself here. There's a point in the investigation where we all remember in September, they put a statement saying Ray Fisher is not cooperating with the investigation, right? This article actually, and this is what people are not going to understand, people are going to slide over their head. This article categorically puts it to bed and says Warner Brothers lied, to the point where you have quotes from people at WB who are saying that, listen, and this is from Christy Hawbegger, the head of communications at Warner Media, and she said the studio's statement that Fisher had refused to cooperate had been based on third-hand information. And she went on to say that I have made it 100% crystal clear to everyone at Warner Brothers Communication that not a goddamn word can be said about Ray Fisher. If I catch anyone doing that, they're fired. This is the head of communications at Warner Media, right? So that you just got caught in a lie. You lied as a studio. So if you lied about this, what other skeletons are in the closet? What else are you lying about? What else are you not being truthful about? And if you are someone who's, and I'm not going to say corporate bootlicker, but that's basically what it is. If you're someone who's just going to go for the studio's word and believe everything a studio says the way you believe every cop report, every government official report, you got to question things. And if you're still believing every word Warner Brothers says, when it's being proven time and again that they're lying about this situation, I don't know what to tell you. Like this is like,
and
like
even to the naysayers, Ray Fisher said this so many times that if the things he was saying, if the allegations he was bringing about weren't true, they would have sued him by now, but they haven't because they know if it goes to court, it's going to be even worse for them because
you can't hire
really
a rep.
also has to
You
be
can't
true.
hire a rep in court. In court, it's about facts. It's not about all this other bullshit. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and then we go to the final quote as we wrap this up. And the final quote, which is interesting because it kind of puts it all into focus and it puts it all into consideration because it ends with going over the fact that the Flash movie and how he lost his role. And Fisher says, this is his final two quotes. He says, when I first spoke up, I assumed there was no way these guys would allow me to do my job in peace. That's unfortunate because he's basically saying he knew, like, you're doing this, you're putting yourself on the line. And we know this all too well from work that we've done ourselves. And he says the struggle could be costly. But he said, then again, I'm not so indebted to Hollywood that I haven't been willing to put myself out there. So this is like, you have to be brave if you're gonna do something about this. And this is the final quote. And the final quote happens to be the same quote that this article led with, where he said, I don't believe some of these people are fit for the positions of leadership. And he's being a little nicer than Umar here, but he's like, I don't want them excommunicated from Hollywood, but I don't think they should be in charge of hiring and firing other people. Fisher knows he's not going to win that battle. This is a very interesting sentence by Kim Masters. But he feels a point has been made. So I wonder if this sentence is supposed to be like, is this the end of the road or not? I don't know. But he said, if I can't get accountability, at least I can make people aware of who they're dealing with, right? So now this big piece is out. In my opinion, this is going to be something that articles are made about of for weeks. There's so many little nuggets here that you can make full articles about this. There's so much in this article that we've been talking for about 27 minutes. Honestly, we could have hours if you want to go line by line and allegation by allegation. There's so much stuff in here. But we went through kind of the big highlights for you guys and broke it down so you guys kind of understood what it means in context. But it's tough, man. Last 2 minutes, I mean, what do you think like is going to come next? Do you feel like there's some positive thing ahead, or do you think that this is it? Like Fisher made his point. Now we can just hope that some good comes out of it. I mean, Umar, where do you take us home on this one?
The positive thing, at least from like just the basic human thing, is the people that were involved in lying, they should be fired. First of all, I mean, the Warner Media Communications head said that, so she should fire, or he should fire them. Whoever they should fire them. First of all, and second of all, the people that have been accused of saying these things, if they're proven that they've said those things, they should also be fired. So Toby Emmerich, Geoff Johns, these weirdos should be fired. I think you got to clean house. Just clean house. Start new, start fresh. Hire some new people. And hire people.
That's what you think, but that's what you want, but you think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's never because, again, just like you said in the start, and like with anything in life, like if a person's wallet is about to get light, or a person's livelihood is getting threatened, right, and or the studio's culture or fabric is being ripped at by an actor, and he's saying, yo, you people are literally this, then yeah, they're gonna fight you back. It's not gonna be like, oh hey, yeah, let's just fire all these people. What should be done, what an adult would do in that situation, is like look at the people that have done these things, and then hold them to account. Not for Ray Fisher, not for anything else other than your actual company's safety. Because if these people are doing this now, they're going to continue doing it, and it's always going to come out. It's never, the truth always prevails. Always.
Yeah, well said. I think that's a pretty good point to wrap this up. I mean, what do you guys think in the comments about this article? Let us know. There's a lot to unpack here, and I'm sure we're going to be revisiting this in some form or fashion down the road. But we definitely appreciate you guys jumping on board. Hit the subscribe button to be first in line for our next content, and we'll see you next time. So from myself, from Zion, from Umar, and from Samir, we're the Farooqi brothers, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.